This is Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. From the corporate office to the cab of a truck, they're here to inspire and empower women in all professions. So gear down, sit back, and enjoy.
Welcome. We're an award-winning show dedicated to empowering women in every profession through inspiring stories and expert insights. No topic is off limits on our show. We power women on the road to success with expert and celebrity interviews and information you need. I'm Shelley.
And I'm Kathy.
Wouldn't you like to live life fearlessly? Fear is paralyzing. It keeps us from doing what we dream of moving forward, or even living our best life. Too many people are stopped in their tracks by fear, whether it be logical or illogical. Many times our fear is rooted in the thoughts that we just can't compete because we aren't good enough. Rhonda Britten teaches people how to master fear. She's an Emmy Award winner, a repeat guest on Oprah, 4-time best-selling author for books like Wheel of Fear, Fearless Loving, and Change Your Life in 30 Days. She's the founder of the Fearless Living Institute. Rhonda was the first life coach on reality TV on the show Help Me Rhonda. I love that title, by the way. Nice Beach Boys reference there. Rhonda then changed lives with the hit NBC reality show called Starting Over. She was named its most valuable player by the New York Times and dubbed America's favorite life coach. We have the honor of featuring Rhonda today to learn how to stop fear in its tracks. Welcome, Rhonda. Thank you for being on the show with us.
What a joy. I'm so excited. Empowering women, my favorite thing in the whole world.
Well, oh yeah, that's what we're all about. And you're going to definitely empower a lot of ladies. This is excellent, Rhonda.
Thank you.
First of all, I can't help but ask this. How many people have sung that famous Beach Boys song, Help Me Rhonda?
Oh God, too many. I mean, going up high school, college, every guy in the bar, oh, God, have you heard Help Me Rhonda? I'm like, really? Can you pick something? Like, come on, guys. Try it a little bit harder. Yeah, I would always roll my eyes and go, can you do better than that, please? So yes, lots and lots of people over the years have sung Help Me Rhonda or somehow made that reference.
I love it. But what a great title for a show.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, that was the show in England, the very first reality show in the whole world where a life coach changed lives. And then it came back over to the U.S. and did Starting Over for 3 seasons every day at noon on NBC, and then Celebrity Fit Club. So I have had the joy of changing lives where the whole world can watch.
This is excellent. So what inspired you to do what you're doing? Was fear an issue for you? What's your background?
Well, that's such a great question because I'm going to answer the second one first. I grew up in the Midwest, so I'm Finnish too, so I'm Finnish is from Finland, heritage Finland, and Finnish people don't feel, and so I always make the joke that if I walked into the house with a broken arm, my mother would look at me and say, "Please wash the dishes," because there's no you're not allowed to feel, you don't have fear. So I never ever said I was afraid or scared, not one time, because God forbid I admit that or even feel it. So no, you asked the question, like, how did I get here, so to speak?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is a fascinating story because I definitely didn't want to be here. And I didn't want to be here in the physical world. I tried to kill myself 3 times, but I'll tell you that story in a minute. And I didn't think I deserved to, in the past, before I became, i.e. Rhonda Britten, life coach, if you would have said to me, become a life coach, I'd have looked at you like you were a crazy person. Because I had too much baggage in my past to deserve any type of future that included, TV, books, changing lives, because I didn't deserve that. Because for like 20 years of my life, I couldn't change my own.
Wow. So you really had some obstacles, but you were able to take lemons and make it into lemonade. Yeah.
Well, let's put it this way. I was forced to. So let me tell you about the worst day of my life, because I think the worst day of our lives is actually the opening for the best days of our lives, right? The worst day, if you can grab the seed out of it, if you can grab the juice out of it, you can grab the heart of it can turn into, right? It's your best days, right?
Yeah.
So I'll just tell you my worst day and get it out in the open, right? So I grew up in Upper Michigan, Midwest, like I said, Upper Michigan. Grew up in a small town, about 5,000 people. 2 restaurants, Fancy Douglas House, Buffet Hotel, and Big Boy. That's all we had. And my parents were in the middle of a divorce, and it was Father's Day. So my father was coming to take out my mother and my 2 sisters and me for brunch. We were going to go to the Fancy Douglas House, which was a big deal. So I put on this white cotton dress my mother made me, and it had a beautiful scarf, and I looked like Barbra Streisand. For those of you who are young, you think of Beyonce. And I was in my mom's room, and she's fluffing up her beehive hairdo. My 2 sisters are fighting it out in our one bathroom. My mother's putting on her rose-colored lipstick, and my dad comes through the back door. Come on, girls, let's go. That's what dads do. And as me and my mother and father start walking out, my dad yells one more time, come on, girls. And as we walk outside, it starts to rain. So my father turns to us and says, I got to get my coat from the car. Now, this coat was a tan Naugahyde leisure suit coat, which is very, very fancy back then. And so me and my mom are walking. My dad gets in his trunk. I noticed out of the corner of my eye, he hasn't grabbed a coat, but he has grabbed a gun. And he starts screaming at my mother, you made me do this. You made me do this. And he fires.
Oh, my Lord.
And I start screaming, Dad, what are you doing, Dad? What are you doing? Stop. And he cocks the gun again. He points it at me. And I absolutely 100% believe I'm next. I, stare at him. He stares at me. I blink, he blinks. And we're just like in landlocked, eye lock, paralyzed. And my mother, who already has 1 bullet in her, sees my father with that gun in my face. And with her last breath, literally screams, no, don't. And my father, realizing my mother is still alive, turns the gun towards my mother with the bullet that was intended for me and shoots my mother a second time. And that second bullet goes through my mother's abdomen, out her back, and lands in the car horn. And all I hear is, eh. And then my father cocks the gun a 3rd time, goes to his knees, puts the gun to his head, and fires. So in a matter of 2 minutes, I was the sole witness to my father murdering my mother and committing suicide in front of me.
Oh, my Lord.
I know. It was horrific. And everybody processes things differently, right? So how I processed that day is, you watch your mom die. You didn't do anything heroic. I didn't grab the gun. I didn't jump in front of the gun. I didn't jump in front of my mother to save her. I didn't kick my father's shins. I didn't do anything heroic. So that day, basically any chance of me being happy was stripped away. You don't get to be happy if you don't save your mother.
You had survivor's guilt, maybe?
Survivor's guilt. Sure, you can call it what you can call it. We can call it so many things, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's very normal, right? It's very normal to think like, here you are, you're 14, and you're the only one left, right? And so yes, many people would call that survivor's guilt. And so I, for the next 20 years, I lived 2 lives. There was the outside life, i.e. a student, Rhonda Britten, college scholarship, a student, class president, no, I'm fine. And then the inside Rhonda, who basically not good enough, unworthy, lacks self-confidence, very, crawling on the ground inside of myself, right? And then I just play acted in life, just to pretend that I was fine, because I didn't want anybody to know my past. I kept it a secret, except when I moved away from that town and went to college, nobody knew my story. And I was like, yeah, nobody will know. Like, I will be able to be a different person, I'll be able to be somebody else, not the orphan witness murder suicide girl, right?
Yeah.
But, as you probably can guess, is hiding like that created a toll on me. And eventually I started drinking, became an alcoholic, got 3 DUIs, spent a little time in jail, and tried to kill myself 3 times because I didn't really believe I had a right to be alive. My mother's dead. I don't get to live. Okay. And it was that 3rd suicide attempt, Kathy and Shelley, that I realized something. I realized that I'm not very good at killing myself, not good at it. And I have to figure this out because I can't keep living the way I'm living. And so I, again, remember, I've been working this whole time. I'd been in therapy, I'd done shaman work, inner child work. You name it, I've done it. I studied and I did everything I could to try to help myself, but nothing got me over the hump, so to speak, right? Like, just didn't get me over the hump. And so when I came back from the psychiatric ward, because by the way, when you kill yourself 3 times, they do bring you into psychiatric ward to evaluate you. And, I was in there, I think 4 days in my little lockdown cell. And when they let me go, I went back to my little studio apartment and thought to myself, doesn't matter what I've learned. Here I am again, so to speak, right? So how I have to start over. I just remember so distinctly feeling I have to start over. And so I thought about, what do kindergartners do? Well, kindergartners do gold stars and a calendar. So I went to the store, got a calendar, got some gold stars, and kept track for the next 30 days of anytime I did anything good, little tiny bit good. And I'm not talking about amazing things. I'm talking about got angry, didn't break anything. That's what we're talking about. Or had 1 drink instead of 3, right? So that's the level we're talking about. And yet at the end of 30 days, I had a calendar full of stars. And that gave me hope that I was worth saving. And that started a new, search for myself, so to speak, in a earnest, humble, vulnerable, I can't pretend it didn't happen anymore way. And I was finally willing to, so to speak, face my father, face my mother, and face myself.
Wow. I would say you're super brave. Seriously.
Well, when you're desperate, it's not bravery, right? When you're desperate,
Right.
when you're hanging, right? When you're hanging on by your little nails, they say, right? When people are at war, nobody's brave. You're just trying to survive, right? You're just doing what's instinctual.
Sure.
So, I definitely didn't feel brave. I definitely felt like, I think at these moments that we think that end up changing our lives, that end up being the catapult, the catalyst, the turn, the pivot, while we're in that place, it doesn't feel all that great. And it doesn't feel all that great. We have to go ahead, Kath.
I was just going to say, our stories are so similar, other than, well, mine is like I was raped at 14, and then at 15 attacked, and then a gang raped, drugged and raped at 18, gang raped at 19. I had 3 suicide attempts. I pretended everything was fine. Nobody knew.
Fine. Yeah, nobody knew.
I became a nurse, took care of everybody else. I excelled at everything I did, but the inside was just like you're talking about, right? That low self-worth. And I started drinking, and I'm like, oh my God. And try to get over that. It took me, even though I was trying, it took me, oh my God, it took me to lose my nursing career, become homeless, and have that moment with a guy named Toothless Joe where I realized, wait a minute, right? This is not my destiny to be standing here drunk and homeless on the streets beside this guy.
Yeah. No.
Right. How did I get here? Wasn't I from like a little tiny town? And wasn't I like the good girl? And wasn't I like, wanting to be a minister?
Right?
Well, yeah, exactly. No, I always say, when I see homeless people, I go, there, but for the grace of God go I. I mean, like, really, I could have been homeless very easily. And I would say, if I did become homeless, people would have walked by me who knew me and been like, well, what happened to her, right? They would have given me the excuse, and they would have said, well, that's why she's homeless. Just given me right? They would have been like,
my homeless picture, Rhonda, and you won't recognize me. It's unbelievable, right?
Well, I'm knowing that to be true.
And, even like I thought the same thing you did on my third suicide attempt. I was thinking the same thing. I can't even do this right.
Yeah, I can't even do this.
I can't even kill myself properly.
Yeah. I mean, like, what the hell? And then, I started, people say, well, you're alive for a reason. You're alive for a reason. Well, back then it was like, well, I don't want to be alive, right?
Yeah.
But I was alive for a reason, and you were alive for a reason, right? We're here right now. Mm-hmm. And so I advocate life, not death. And
me too.
I advocate keeping on going, and I advocate hanging on to hope, and I advocate getting support. Because I think a lot of my issue was that I kept secrets, and I didn't want to tell anybody, and I didn't want to ask for help. Yes, I'd go take classes and, kind of in the back. I wouldn't tell anything. I wouldn't say anything. I would just, keep my head down in the book and listen to the lectures and do whatever. But, tell somebody I would never tell what are you, crazy? They're going to look at me like I'm a crazy person.
Sure.
It took me till I was 40 to say something. 40.
Yeah, I understand.
Man.
So, Rhonda, you had a fear of rejection. You also, oh my gosh, that experience you had as a teenager with your father, that's the worst kind of fear you could ever imagine. I mean, that's absolute terror. I can't even imagine going through something like that and having to process it. And it's understandable. You want to run away. You want to be somebody else. You want to be in denial. You're going to blame yourself. All of these things. But when you finally had that moment of enlightenment, where you gave yourself gold stars, you were actually gradually changing your mindset. And
that's right.
Setting yourself on the road, on that journey to get better.
That's right. And that's the thing, we're all taking steps forward, whether we know it or not. And we usually just focus on the things we're not moving forward on, right? We're just focused on, well, I did this thing yesterday. Oh my God. But we didn't focus on the other 23 hours and, 20 minutes where we actually were moving forward, right? So it really is about, the brain. Fear lives there. Fear lives in our body and brain. It's part of our neurobiology. It's part of who we are. We can't get rid of it. There's no getting rid of it. It's about coming to grip with it, coming to terms with it, making it your friend. And so that was it for me. I never admitted I was afraid because I didn't, again, I was too numb. I didn't feel, right? So if you would have said, are you scared? I'd look at you like, why would I be scared? I mean, it just didn't even occur to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was depressed. I was miserable. I felt, disgusted, disappointed, desperate, but fear, no. Now, even though I was desperate, didn't feel fear. And so it was only when I was willing to move into that place of surrender, of recognizing, and of course, this was a bunch of little moments, but when I was willing to, one, forgive my father, and even more importantly, forgive my mother, because my father was the perpetrator, right? He's the one with the gun. He's the one that killed. He's the one that committed suicide. So he's the one, of course you should forgive, of course he's the bad guy. So forgiving him was actually easier than forgiving my mother, because my mother, even though, of course, she's the innocent victim, and of course, I'm not blaming my mother at all, I had to take my mother off the pedestal and just go, well, how did this all play out? Like, I had to make her human instead of idolizing and worshiping her. And, she didn't deserve that. Of course, she didn't deserve that. But, just taking her off that pedestal and seeing her. And, my father stalked my mother when she was 39. And when I was 39, of course, I brought stalking in because, of course, unconsciously, I wanted to experience what my mother did. And so all of these little moments, we're trying to make sense of our world. And, after I forgave my father, like I said, he was the quote unquote easy one per se. And by the way, I had nightmares every night for 14 years. My father was chasing me in my dream and killing me. So that when I did forgive my father, those ended. And that is a magical moment in my life. But facing my mother and just taking her off the pedestal and seeing her for human, forgiving her was just so the burden lifted. Like, I couldn't save you, Mom. I couldn't save you. And, hearing her say, it's not your fault, and just loving me through the forgiveness letters and all the work I did through forgiveness. And then, of course, forgiving myself for not saving them, not saving my mother, not jumping in front of the gun and not sacrificing myself, and I would have sacrificed myself, but I just didn't, it just happened so quick. Right. So sure. I kept on saying to myself, you should have done it. You should have done it. So, but forgiving myself was, one of the top 3 moments in my life, because if I hadn't forgiven myself, I definitely wouldn't be here today.
Forgiving yourself was harder than forgiving your mother and your father?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I did too. When I went through, wrote all my letters of forgiveness to all those who hurt me in the past, it was myself that was the hardest to forgive.
Yeah, because, if you're like me, Kathy and Shelley, most likely you probably are, is we rationalize all the things we could have done but didn't.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
If I would have seen my father have the gun, if I would have blah, 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 if I could have, so we're constantly saying you should have known better. Well, what do you do with that? Just, Kathy, you probably went through this, maybe you too, Shelley, but the reason I'm a good coach is I learned to be hypervigilant, right? I can read things, I can listen to things, I can hear a client talk, and I can dissect it in, 0.2 millimeter seconds and know what they really mean. Because why? Because I was hypervigilant my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So going through that experience actually made me the coach I am today, because I learned all those skills to survive, and now I can use them for everyone's benefit.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I have one question for you. Do you want to stop worrying about the IRS? If the answer is yes, then look no further. I've been around for years. I've helped countless people across the country, and my success rate speaks for itself. So now you know where to find good, honest help with your tax problems. What are you waiting for? If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or haven't filed in years, call me now at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com for a free consultation and get your life back.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
If you're enjoying this informative episode of Women Road Warriors, I wanted to mention Kathy and I explore all kinds of topics that will power you on the road to success. We feature a lot of expert interviews. Plus, we feature celebrities and women who've been trailblazers. Please check out our podcast at womenroadwarriors.com and click on our episodes page. We're also available wherever you listen to podcasts, on all the major podcast channels like Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Amazon Music, Audible, you name it. Check us out and bookmark our podcast. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube, and other sites. And tell others about us. We want to help as many women as possible. Rhonda Britten believes the worst day of our lives is actually the best day of our lives, when we can grab the seed out of it and it can become the catalyst that will propel us to heights we never expected. She personally experienced this after a terrible trauma as a young teenager that thrust her into the depths of despair and depression for 20 years. Once she was able to move into a place of forgiveness, her life and future began to change. Rhonda became the first life coach on reality TV, and she now helps people worldwide learn how to master fear. She's an Emmy Award winner, a repeat guest on Oprah, 4-time best-selling author for books like Wheel of Fear, Fearless Loving, and Change Your Life in 30 Days. She's the founder of the Fearless Living Institute. What Rhonda's doing for other people is just amazing. Rhonda?
The slogan on your website says, master your fear and become a more fearless you. There's so many people who have fears, and certainly you faced fear head on, where a lot of people haven't. And still, people have different kinds of fears. They don't want to talk about them, much like you didn't want to talk about your experiences because you don't want to be judged by somebody else. People have anxiety. They have phobias. There are various things, different levels of fear. Stage fright, that's one. It's paralyzing. Fear of heights, fear of talking in front of other people. Just a fear of sometimes just dealing with others.
I think I'm afraid of the spiders in Australia.
Well, I think there's several different types of fear, but let's separate them by physical fears and emotional fears.
Okay.
So physical fears are your life and death instinct, right? I'm scared of the spiders in Australia because I don't want to die, right? So we have a instinct to stay alive per se, and those are our physical fears, like heights, etc., and spiders and et cetera, et cetera. Those are physical fears. And most of us, not all of us, but most of us can actually get through our life by bypassing our physical fears because I don't have to go up a tall building, right? And you don't have to go to Australia and see the spiders, right? So a lot of times our biggest physical fears, we can kind of manage. They don't occupy our day, right? They don't follow us throughout the day. Emotional fears is my specialty because emotional fears are the things that we deal with every single day, all day long. So I call them fear responses. And fear responses, I'll read you a lovely little list if you'd like. You want me to read a little list?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So just go ahead and everybody, when you're listening, I'm going to read a list. And if you do any of these things or feel anything, just nod your head to yourself so you can kind of acknowledge that, yes, I do that. And it's not about, do I do it all the time? But it's like, do you do it? Come on, and make you do it, right? So do you ever deny yourself? Do you ever isolate? Do you ever pretend everything's okay when it's not? Do you ever hide out? How about whine? What about settle? Do you compare yourself to others? What about manipulate? Get defensive? Judge? Do you complain? Procrastinate? Worry? Do you ever wait and call it patience? Do you get blameful? Struggle? Feel out of control and want to control? Do you feel bitter? Powerless? Resentful? Do you ever feel entitled? What about guilty? Disappointed? Are you a perfectionist? Do you feel indifferent? Irritated, like maybe now that I'm reading all these words out loud? Do you ever feel ignored? Do you ever get caught in self-pity? What about annoyed? And what about victim? So
that's
how
a
you ladies
powerful
doing?
list. Oh my goodness!
Yes, right?
I've got so many X's on there. It's run off the paper.
Right. So when I talk, whether I'm talking to a group of 100 or 1,000, I would say when I ask people to do this exercise, and then I ask them for their percentage, right? I say, how many over 50%? How many over 60%? I would say most of the room, well, I would say all the room's over 80%, and I would say most of the room is over 90%. And these are what I call fear responses. And these also are what people consider their problems, right? So I procrastinate. God, I wish I could quit procrastinating. Oh my God, I judge people. Oh, I hate that about myself. I get so defensive, right? So our problems per se, the things that we judge ourselves for or admit to ourselves or are what we call fear responses, but they're not your core fear. They are just created from what I call your core fear. And your core fear creates fear responses to kind of keep you sidetracked, right? To keep you distracted. Hey, look over there, procrastination. Focus on that. Don't focus on the fear. Get over there. Look over there. So we're constantly distracted by our fear responses, label those our problems, spend time beating ourselves up about it, judging ourselves for them. And those are not actually what you need to focus on. What you need to focus on is actually what I call the core fear. And that core fear is what creates those fear responses. So when you identify your personal unique core fear, those fear responses, it's like when you get the root out of a plant, the plant dies, right? So once you get to the root, it's like your fear responses lose their power. And this is the other thing I'll say is, if you think of a plant again, let's go think of the plant again and think of the roots and think of the little buds on their flowers. And, let's say you procrastinate, anxiety, overwhelm, compare, judge. And let's say you go to procrastination school and you're like, I'm not going to procrastinate anymore. I'm going to solve that. You go to procrastination school and you solve it. And you're like, yeah, I no longer procrastinate. I'm amazing. Well, fear doesn't care what the fear response is. It'll just create a new fear response. So when I talk to clients or I talk to audiences and say, do you feel like you're on a treadmill? Do you feel like, you think you got solve something like I did it. And then something pops up. They always go, yes. I go, because the procrastination isn't the problem. Procrastination is the fear response, the symptom. And so what was downloaded to me, and this is where I get my information, because I'm not smart enough to create this stuff, is when you really find your core fear, what clients say to me all the time, or workshop participants, my students say, oh my God, my life makes sense. I get why I got divorced. I got why I got married. I get why I quit school. I get why every single thing in their life, it's like their whole life flashes before them. And they're like, oh my God, it all makes sense. And when that happens, regret dissolves, guilt dissolves, forgiveness is available. We can let go because now we see that we are not to blame. Can't tell you what that was like to realize I am not to blame for all, per se my bad choices, right? Fear was in charge of me and I didn't know better. I didn't know how to get beyond it. All I know how to do is operate out of fear. I didn't know how to operate from anything else. And by the way, remember, when I was most afraid, I didn't think I was afraid. I thought I was fine.
Sure.
And I think that's true for lots of people. Yeah.
Basically what you're saying is a lot of people are coming from a position of fear. They don't even realize it.
Yeah.
And how does somebody identify their core fear? What are some examples of core fear?
Well, I'll give you some examples. And there's a couple ways to find your core fear. One is get my book, Fearless Living. That has the whole process in there. So if you're a do-it-yourselfer and you like to read and, you could get the Audible, get the audio and, you want to do the worksheets in the book, great way to do it. If you're more of I need support, which I am, I like to do things in person or live or watch videos. I like to have an interaction, so to speak. So I have a course, Fearless Living Transformation Program, which has me on video, audio, talking you through the whole process to help you identify. And then, of course, you can always work with a certified Fearless Living coach who went through my life coach certification program, and they can help you work one-on-one to find yours. And let me just, as you said, Shelley, what are they? What are some of the core fears? Well, I'll give you some ideas what some of those are.
Okay.
So for a minute, Shelley and Kathy, excuse me, think about somebody you admire. Their opinion of you matters. So I don't care if this person's alive or dead. I don't care if they're real or fiction. It could be your favorite character in your favorite book. It could be Jesus. I don't care who it is. So think of somebody that you really, really like. Their opinion matters to you. Like it would matter what they thought of you. Do you have one in mind? Every Kathy and Shelley?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Awesome. All right. So I want you to imagine this person says something like the following to you. Shelley, you've done a really good job in life. You're really amazing. And the reason you can't get this ABC done, the reason you can't do D, E, and F is because really at the core of it, and I hate to tell you this because I know you don't think this is true about you, but you are really at your core selfish.
Wow. That would take me back.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Right? It would kind of slap you around a little bit, right? I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe they said, Shelley, core of it is you're just not that smart. I know you went to school and I know you do all these smart things, but you and I both know you're secretly stupid, right? Or weak, right? You're weak. You're a weak person. Like Kathy, she does all these things to prove she's done some amazing things to kind of show she's not weak, right? But is it okay if she's called weak? Maybe, maybe not. What about incompetent? If somebody you admired and respected called you incompetent and you have all these accolades because, incompetent people are very successful out in the world, but they're driven by incompetence, fear of being incompetent. Or what about ordinary? What about ordinary? Are you okay with being just like everyone else? What about loser? What about being thought? That's mine, by the way. My core fear is loser. So if I smell it, see it, if you look cross-eyed at me, now it doesn't happen to me now because I've been working with this so long. I've been doing this for 3 decades. But in the beginning, before I understood this and when I was first discovering this method, if you would have looked at me crossways, what would have been ignited in me was loser, right? And then I would have to do fear responses to prove I wasn't a loser. Fake. Are you okay if somebody called you a fake, are you okay with that? What about lazy? Lazy, lazy, lazy. What about invisible? They can't see you. They can't hear you. You don't even barely see yourself. Or what about rejected? Do you reject yourself before anyone else can reject you? So those are the 10. I've done this with thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and I was able to hone it down to the 10 that really all the other words bucket into. Mm-hmm. And so when you can see your core fear, and then we do what's called the wheel of fear. So we work the whole thing out so you actually see it in motion. It kind of it turns on a light bulb. It's like, oh my God. And then you don't see yourself ever the same again. And even really what's even cooler is you don't see other people the same again. Because you also know that they have a wheel of fear and they're walking around with their wheel of fear. And I'll say one more thing before I forget is, some areas of your life, you might be totally fearless right now. And we're talking about the area that you're not doing the things you want, the areas where you beat yourself up. So you might be awesome in business and need, beat yourself up with relationships, or maybe you're great at relationships, but you beat yourself up in health. So you might be fearless 90% of the time. So as we're working on your core fear, we're talking about the areas where you can't give yourself a break, where maybe you're ruthless with yourself, maybe you're, thinking you should do better, et cetera, where you have your negative self-talk. And then once we are able to do we have some things that I ask you and take you through process. It's like an aha moment. People just can't believe it. And they feel the weight of the world lifted on them. And they feel like their past is no longer has any power over them.
Like the blindfold's been taken off.
Oh, 100%. Yes. Yes. They can see the light.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I have one question for you. Do you want to stop worrying about the IRS? If the answer is yes, then look no further. I've been around for years. I've helped countless people across the country, and my success rate speaks for itself. So now you know where to find good, honest help with your tax problems. What are you waiting for? If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or haven't filed in years, call me now at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com for a free consultation and get your life back.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
Physical fears are our life and death instinct. Most of these we can manage. Then we have emotional fears, which Rhonda Britten, the founder of the Fearless Living Institute, talks about to help people overcome and master fear. What comes along with emotional fears are what she calls fear responses. They're the things that keep us sidetracked, but they're not our core fear. They're the symptom. They include things like isolating, denying ourselves, pretending things are okay when they're not, being a perfectionist, judging others, feeling anxious or worrying. Those are just some of the symptoms. They're not what we're really afraid of. In order to live without fear, we have to identify our core fear so it will lose its power. Then we can let go and forgive ourselves. Rhonda says we're not to blame. Rhonda's book, Fearless Living, can help us identify our core fear to live a fearless life. She also has a course called the Fearless Living Transformation Program. Rhonda, you make so much sense with what you're saying. I think everyone can relate.
So why does our mind do this?
It's part of our neurobiology. It's how we're wired. So we're wired for safety. And so we can all go back to the cave days, right, and know that that's physical safety, right? We are wired for physical safety. And then as we started to evolve, we also wired for emotional safety. And because of our past, because of things through the DNA, by the way, some of our fears are handed down through our DNA. We don't even know where they came from. And some of are based on our past, how you were raised, what you experienced, what you didn't experience. Because everybody's wheel of fear is formed by the time they're 5 or 7. Everyone has one, because again, it's part of our neurobiology. And, the brain we've done enough research now in neuroscience that we know that the brain can't get rid of fear. Like literally the brain can't get rid of fear. And the brain doesn't know how to do that. So what we want to do is we want to, kind of retrain it and kind of shift our view of fear so that we can actually build a different relationship with it. So this is not something you can get rid of. This is not something you can, ignore. It's there. We all have it. Now, I'll say there's some people genetically, they have certain things that are, they're wired differently. So there's that little tiny, tiny percentage. But the rest of us, it's part of our neurobiology. And so we're wired for safety. So this is what we do. We have to make a decision, right? We're making a decision, got to make a choice, got to do something. And what we automatically do is because our body and brain are wired to keep us safe. And what's safe? What we've done before. We're alive now, so we must have done good, right?
Yeah.
So the brain automatically looks in the past for a solution to our present problem. And we're trying to find a solution to create a new future, but the body and brain automatically go in the past to find a solution that works so that we can guarantee our safety, that we somehow think is going to give us a new future. But obviously it's a solution from the past that isn't necessarily going to give us a new future. So we're wired to just keep repeating patterns because they've proven to keep us safe. So fear doesn't care if you're happy. Fear doesn't care if you're joyful. Fear doesn't care if you're spirit. Fear doesn't care. Fear only cares about your safety. And so what we do in Fearless Living is we support you in expanding your comfort zone. So your safety zone becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger so that you can play wherever you want to play. And you understand how fear works. So when you get triggered, you know what to do. That's the key. You know what to do and you know what's happening. You don't feel stupid. You don't feel crazy. You don't feel, dumb, right? You know what's happening. And then we have something called the Wheel of Freedom. So I teach my clients and my students to go from their Wheel of Fear to the Wheel of Freedom. And so you get on your Wheel of Freedom and then you're able to move forward once again.
So are those some positive affirmations people give each other to, give themselves?
Sure. Those are what we call proactive behaviors. Sure. Mantras are lovely. I mean, I love mantras. I'm not too big of a fan of affirmations, but mantras and affirmations for most people are kind of the same thing, but for other people, they're not quite. But no, it's a whole process that you go through. And then I have a series of tools that I share with my clients and share with my coaches and share with my students, et cetera, that helps them anchor their freedom, anchor their fearlessness on a daily basis so they can remember who they are.
It almost sounds, and this kind of jumped into my head, that maybe parents, if they have some core fears, they pass them on to their children.
Oh, sure. Yes, absolutely. So the parents' core fears absolutely handed down. Again, neuroscience now has recognized that fears are actually handed down through our DNA. So, your great-great-great-grandfather who lived during the Depression and starved, near starved, that part of that might be in your DNA. And so you feel like, why do I think this? Why do I do this? And that's what I did, right? I would be like, why can't I get over this? Why? Well, in Fearless Living, we say, you're not going to find the answer in why, because there is no one why. There is no secret. There's no, my father killing my mother was when I was 14. I already had my Wheel of Fear by the time I was 7, right? So that just, kind of solidified it or validated it, but it didn't create my Wheel of Fear. Mm-hmm. So people look and go, oh, I'm afraid to get an intimate relationship because my boyfriend in college broke up with me. It's like, well, yes, of course that added to it. But trust me, this was here way before that. So we look for the why. Why am I like this? The situation had to happen. Something had to happen. Why? And again, there is no one why. The brain and body collect data all day long, and they are, kind of sifting it through whether it's fear or, what is this going to add to my safety mechanism, or I got to get rid of that thing. So fear is always constantly trying to build evidence for its way of life because it loves you so much. Fear loves you so much. It just wants to keep you alive. Again, it doesn't care if you're happy. It cares if you're alive.
You're giving people strength to face the fear and put it in its proper place.
Yes.
And realize that you don't have to be overcome by fear, the emotional fear. And I find it interesting. You're talking about genetic memory, that this could be an inherited condition. So, I mean, it's a really complicated interplay of things that create who we are, the kinds of fears we have. And it would explain how illogical some of the fears could be. Because people, I do think, they rack their brains as to, why am I afraid of this? This makes no sense. What is the deal with me? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And
make your friend rather than your foe.
Well, it becomes your ally, right? Because it kind of points out. But it's also, most people, I mean, I can't tell you how many people have been at my workshops and clients and students. And I would say most of them never even thought they were afraid. And until I read that list to them, the list I read to you, if I asked them, if I met them in the hallway at a speaking event and I asked them if they're afraid, they'd be like, no, I'm not afraid. I don't walk around saying I'm afraid or scared. And then when I read the list to them, and I say how many, 90%, everybody's hand raises, right?
Yeah.
So people don't understand, it's not in our culture it's not part of our learning that fear responses like procrastination, judging, comparing, worthless, feeling of worthlessness, incompetency, again, all these things that we beat ourselves up for are just simply distractions, ways for us that fear kind of keeps you distracted.
Sure.
And, and those are all signs of fear. If you're procrastinating, You can't procrastinate unless there's a fear. You can't have guilt unless there's a fear. You can't get worried unless there's a fear. So, most of us just go guilt, worry, procrastination. I'm bad, but no, sweetheart, you're procrastinating. There's a fear under there. Would you the real you, would the real you procrastinate? Would the real you, with the real essential nature of you, would you, being in all your glory, procrastinate? No, of course not. Would you worry or guilty? No, of course not. So who is worrying? What is guilt? Who is guilty?
Mm-hmm. Your list was definitely an eye-opener, and I was nodding my head so much I almost had whiplash. Seriously.
Yeah.
It was, and it makes absolute sense. You actually are putting fear in a context people can understand, so it's not something to be afraid of. I like this.
Yeah, and it gives them a toolkit without any judgment. We all have fear. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just fear. And if you can embrace and be willing to embrace the concept of, well, what if there is nothing wrong with me and it's fear? What kind of life could I have then? And that's the gift of fearless living, is that, we have a path for you to identify that wheel of fear, because that wheel of fear, you're going to work with that the rest of your life. When I find myself in a fear response, if I'm procrastinating, if I'm beating myself up, if I'm comparing, etc., I immediately go, okay, where am I? Okay, what's going on? I know what to look at. I know where to look, so to speak. So I don't sit there and beat myself up for, procrastinating. I don't beat myself up for feeling guilty. I don't beat myself up for feeling anxious or worried, right? I just go into, oh, got it. I know what to do. Go to my wheel of fear, then jump on my wheel of freedom. Got it. So beating yourself up is not, because beating yourself up is like the number one tool fear has. I call it the oil in the wheel. Like, you just grease of the wheel.
Sure.
So never beat your, it's like one of my rules, never beat yourself up or another human being.
Makes total sense.
Did you say never?
Never.
She said never. Yes.
Never,
I didn't count all those nevers, but
never.
Makes sense. Totally. And it's so important. I think all of us have beaten ourselves up for something.
No, sure.
I was really good at doing that as a kid. I would admit to stuff. Most kids don't. I'd admit to stuff,
That's pretty amazing.
My sister was a lot older than I was, and I remember her picking me up and driving me home from kindergarten. And I said, I was feeling really guilty. I said, the teacher spanked me. Should I tell mommy? And she said, why? Do you want another spanking?
Yeah.
And, she's like, did you learn something? I said, yes. She said, then no, I wouldn't do that. And I thought, that makes sense, but I would tell on myself, So
it's that pure heart of yours, Shelley. It's that pure heart of yours, that innocent, pure heart.
Yeah. Well, some sort of, I had a guilt trip, and that's, who knows, maybe there was some fear involved. I don't know. I was just
sure. Yeah, you're just a little kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we're all just like little kids. Like I said, research has shown that we all develop these, survival mechanisms by the time we're 5-7 years old.
Yeah.
And what we do in while we're doing that is we cut off little parts of ourselves that aren't safe to expose. So we hide our light. Like I was told, like, don't brag, Rhonda. Don't, I remember I won something in school and I came home and I was so excited, and my mom just gave me a dirty look and said, don't make your sisters feel bad. Right. Like, so my happiness made other people. So that's what the message I got was, well, you can't be happy because other people be sad about that, because you're going to make them feel bad. So all these things are just so formed that and they're so subtly, and that just repeats over and over. We don't even know it's happened. They're not purposely doing it to us for the most part.
Adults don't realize how children process information and how they internalize it.
Well, they also don't know how afraid they are.
That's true. They're not in touch with themselves and their own core fears. And
I can't tell you how many parents have come to me and said, I want to take your course because I want my children to have no fear. And I go, that's not going to happen. It's part of our neurobiology. And if you master your fear, your kids are going to learn to master theirs.
Yeah, because they learn by example.
Example.
Mm-hmm. Very true. I love what you're doing, Rhonda. Where do people reach out to you? And do you work with people virtually?
I do. We have virtual workshops. I do one-on-ones. I have coaches. So we have a whole institute. So we have online classes. I have a membership called Fearless You, where I teach on a regular basis. The course that you want to grab, Fearless Living Transformation Program, is where you'll discover the Wheel of Fear and Wheel of Freedom. And just go to fearlessliving.org, go to the books and, see if you want to grab a book of mine, or if you want to grab a course or join me inside Fearless You. And of course, if you want to have this work for your own clients, then look at the Life Coach Certification Program.
Love this. Do you have a couple nuggets that you could share with our listeners before we close out the interview on how they can take a major hammer to their fear?
Yes, I do. So the first thing that I want to say is I'm going to introduce a word. And a lot of people, think this word is poo-poo, and they don't like this word, okay? So I'm just going to introduce it. And I know for some people it's going to be like they want to throw up, but they're going to have to introduce it anyway. It's called be gentle. Be gentle with yourself. Being hard on yourself in your attempt to become free is counterproductive. Be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Be kind to yourself. In that vein, one of the things that I train my coaches on, and of course, subsequently teach my students, but really I work with coaches on this specific skill, is seeing the innocence in yourself. You're not purposely, complaining. You're not purposely being mean. You're not purposely, failing that proud. You're not like going, I am now going to procrastinate. Most people don't do that. They don't go, I am now going to procrastinate to avoid everything. We're not thinking that way. It's just an automatic response out of being unconscious and not understanding how fear works. So be gentle with yourself. See your own innocence. See your pure heart. And give yourself a break. And don't let yourself off the hook. So be willing to live the life your soul intended. And remember what I said earlier, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just fear. So when you're beating yourself up, there's nothing wrong with me. It's just fear. Be gentle with yourself. That's going to give you more courage, more motivation, more momentum to actually shift and change than being hard on yourself.
Love this. It gives us clarity when we think in that fashion, I think.
I'm hoping that might be true. I know it for me.
Be kind to your mind, right? I've been seeing kind. Yeah. I had to learn to be kind to my mind first before I could try and move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great statement too. Be kind to your mind.
Yeah, it's very underrated. Very underrated.
Rhonda, where do people reach you? What is your website again?
Fearlessliving.org, O-R-G. Fearlessliving.org. And if you want a free course, I'll be happy to give you a little mini course that you can do and actually learn a little bit about what I call stretch, risk, and die to start taking more risks in your life. And if you want that little course, it's just a short course, 15-minute videos. You go to fearlessliving.org/risk, R-I-S-K, /risk, R-I-S-K. And then, put your name in, put your email in, you'll get access to your free course. Again, it's called Stretch, Risk, or Die. It helps cure that procrastination. You're going to actually see me talk about the Wheel of Fear. I'm going to show you how to expand your comfort zone so you feel comfortable in more places, comfortable in your own skin. And so if you want to do something immediately, go over there and get that. And we'll go from there.
That is so cool. Thank you for offering that. This is going to empower a lot of people. Your wisdom is amazing, Rhonda. And I want to commend you for what you're doing for so many people.
Well, thank you, Miss Shelley, and thank you, Kathy. I really enjoyed our time together. You two are hoots.
Well, thank you.
So are you.
Yes, absolutely. And I promise I won't sing the Beach Boys song.
Oh, you two are joys. Thank you so much. And always be fearless, lovely ladies.
Oh, yeah.
Amen to that.
We hope you've enjoyed this latest episode. And if you want to hear more episodes of Women Road Warriors or learn more about our show, be sure to check out womenroadwarriors.com. And please follow us on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. On our website, we also have a selection of podcasts just for women. There are a series of podcasts from different podcasters. So if you're in the mood for women's podcasts, just click the Power Network tab on womenroadwarriors.com. You'll have a variety of shows to listen to anytime you want to. Podcasts made for women. Women Road Warriors is on all the major podcast channels like Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Audible, YouTube, and others. So check us out, and please follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. If you want to be a guest on the show or have a topic or feedback, email us at sjohnson@womenroadwarriors.com.
Turn your dial to find the frequency of the past.
Captain Advice.
Where the classic stories of mysteries, sci-fi, thrillers, and suspense are found waiting to be heard once again.
Another case for Nick Carter, Master Detective.
You'll find a variety of those stories here, in their original form, where each episode takes you to another place or time.
The Man of Bronze, Doc Savage.
But only when you find the mystery frequency. Available everywhere.
The Shadow knows.